What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Closing Time Sport, and today I'm going to be talking about a subject I've been wanting to talk about for a while, actually. Today I'm going to be talking about James Harden, and in my first intro video to this channel, I actually mentioned James Harden, and I've had this idea for a while, and more news came out today that makes my point even more clear, so I'm going to go through it. Hopefully this won't take too long. I'm hoping it's like a 10-minute video, but I have a lot to say. A lot has happened, and me and Nick on N Square Sports didn't really cover this very well, so I'm just going to get into it now. So of course, James Harden has been traded to the Brooklyn Nets. He is alongside KD and Kyrie. Some things that I would like to say first before I go into what this Bleacher Report article says, from today actually as I record this, is I don't like the way James Harden went out. I understand what his goal was, and I'll talk about that a little bit more, but I don't like the way he decided to go out. I think it's kind of a loser move, to be honest. It's admitting defeat, and I don't feel like he had to do it the way he did. The reason he did it was because he still has 2 years left on his deal, and there was no way for him to leave the Rockets unless he forced his way out, which is what happened. Basically what that means is he forced his way out by showing up to training camp late, showing up fat and out of shape, as well as other things that we will not go into other than, you know, going to strip clubs, stuff like that. Of course, all of those things are not good. They don't look good. Now I guess it's all fine because of, you know, the way he got to Brooklyn. I mean, he got to Brooklyn, he got what he wanted. James Harden is still currently my favorite player in the NBA. He's still my favorite. He's been the reason I have loved basketball for the past 7-8 years because of him. There's other players I like in the NBA, but James Harden is still my favorite. Another thing is I love Kevin Durant. When he was on OKC, and then when he left to Golden State, I hated him for it, and I don't really like KD anymore. He's still talented, and I still think he's the second or third best player in the NBA today, but I don't like him as much. For some reason with Harden, he did kind of the same thing. I still like Harden. I think Harden is a more likable guy than KD, honestly. He doesn't have as much drama as KD does, so that's the good thing on Harden's side is he doesn't like drama. And I want to say one other thing also, if you haven't watched this video by Rachel Nichols, he sat down with her, or not sat down, but virtually did it. It's almost a 6-minute video posted this morning as I record this. And I would go watch it if I were you because he says a lot of interesting things. Some of them I'm going to break down, some of them I'm not. I'm not going to play the video, but just want to let y'all know that that is out there. Actually, y'all cannot even see it. Y'all should be able to right now, though. So this is the article. So I've been talking about this article, and y'all can't even see it. So this is the article I'm talking about. It's called James Harden Calls Rockets Departure Draining. I didn't like how it happened. And if you scroll down here to this ad is not what I want. If you scroll down to where this tweet is by Rachel Nichols, she sat down with him on a online interview. And it's a really good video. I would definitely watch it if you haven't, because James kind of opens up and talks a lot about what his thought process was. So now that is out of the way, I'm going to talk about this. So basically the article is just saying what happened in the interview, basically. So this first thing that he said in the title of the article, he calls the departure draining, and he didn't like how it happened. So those are two different things in the article. Or not in the article, in the two different things in the video. So first, I'm going to talk about how he said I didn't like how it happened. I have a different point on the draining part. But when he says I didn't like how it happened, he's talking about I didn't like how the departure happened, like how it went down. He said the last 2 months in Houston, he wouldn't redo it, he said, but he also said that he didn't like how he was perceived because he said that he's not that type of guy who wants to cause drama. He doesn't like negative energy, he also mentioned, which is all things that I respect about him. Like, that's kind of the reason why I still like him over KD, because KD, I feel like, feeds off of that energy and kind of, you know, has beef with it. They kind of clash together. Harden doesn't seem to clash as much with that. I think the only reason he did it was to get out, and that's not a good excuse, and I don't like that, how James Harden handled that, but I understand it. Doesn't mean I agree with it, though. That's that part. Then the draining part, it's a big part. It's probably going to take up the rest of the video about the draining because I have an opinion to make. So he said having the ball in his hand for 8 years in Houston was draining. It got draining towards the end. He said having to score 40 points every night without any real help for the scoring load was draining for him, and he wanted to go somewhere where he didn't have to do all the scoring and could be more of a facilitator. Now, this is a hot take, and y'all are probably gonna think I'm just salty because he left. Maybe. I don't really know what y'all are gonna think, but I have a take on it. And by the way, James Harden is still my favorite player in the NBA, so it's no shame against him. It's just the truth that I've come to, and I didn't want to admit for a long time. I think this narrative that I'm about to tell y'all would not be true if he would have gotten to the finals in 2018 with CP3, but he did not. He fell short again, so I'm going to say it. To me, that means he will never be the #1 player on a contending team. He just can't do it. He has tried time and time again to do it, and he just can't do it. He can't get past that next step. Now, he's the closest thing to a #1 because he's gotten to the playoffs every year in Houston. He's gotten past the first round like 6 out of 7 times, something like that. I think he's only missed the second round once. He's made it to the conference finals twice. He just can't get to the championship. When he got to the championship in OKC, it wasn't because of him. It was because he was with KD and Russ, and they were much better back then. They had a much better supporting cast. The West wasn't as stacked back then. That's how they got to the finals then. So as a #1 player on a team, James Harden will never make it to a championship. He has to be a #2 or 3. And it's hard for me to say because I've always thought of him as a #1 player. He was the leader on the Rockets. And just because he's not a #1 doesn't mean he can't lead a team. He just can't lead them to the championship. So I think there are only 5 or 6 guys in the NBA that can lead their team to a championship, which would be #1 guys. Those guys being Kevin Durant, Curry, LeBron, obviously. I think, I think Anthony Davis, not yet, but I think he might be able to eventually. I think maybe Jokic can eventually, but really, now that I'm thinking about it, there probably aren't even that many. I think KD, Steph, LeBron are 3 that I think could do it. If they had their own team, I think, and we'll see this year if KD can do it. If KD can get the Brooklyn Nets to the championship, I will still say KD is a #1 and James Harden is not, because I think KD is the leader of that team in Brooklyn. So my premise stands. I only think now that I'm just counted out, I only think there are 3 guys in the NBA that can be #1. Oh, and Kawhi is the other one. I think Kawhi has the potential. He's done it with Toronto. I think he can as well. So I think there are 4. I think KD, Steph, LeBron, and Kawhi. Those are the 4 #1s that can lead their team to a championship. Everybody else so far is a #2 in my opinion. Jokic, I think it's possible he can. Giannis, I think it is possible. And Damian Lillard, I don't think it's really possible. Harden, I think, is in that same boat with Dame. I just think they're in that same boat. They could be #2 on a championship team, but they just can't be a #1. That's basically my point of this whole video is Harden, I don't think is a #1 on a championship level team. To call it draining, I think it's kind of dumb. I understand because the last couple years he had to take more of the scoring load, but you had Russell Westbrook who, for that month he was going off, I think it was January of last year. Russell Westbrook was averaging like 30 points a game. So he was averaging more than James Harden was. So don't tell me, James Harden, that you have to average 40 points a game every night for your team to win. That's what he said. That is not true. Now, he might have been drained. He might have been like, I've done this for too long. I need to get somewhere where I don't have to. Sure, but LeBron has done it for 15 years. Like, he hasn't averaged 40, but he's had to get, 25 to 30 points every night. KD, same thing. Kawhi, same thing. Like, I just feel like Harden basically admitted defeat, saying he was drained at the end, which, I think he was drained. I think he is, and I just don't think he has the capability of leading a team by himself, and I think that's pretty obvious now. You've had so many teammates. He just can't do it. He needs more help. And that's exactly why I went to Brooklyn. That's why he wanted out of Houston. And that's fine. If that's what you want, go for it. Like, it's not a knock against him. It's just the facts now, and the facts that I don't even like saying. So basically that's all I wanted to say, but go watch this video for sure. It's definitely a good one to listen to see what he says. He says a lot of good things. He said some things I didn't like to hear, but he also said some things that I was happy about. Yeah, so that's basically all I'm going to say for this video, but thank you all so much for watching. My mouth is tired of talking. Follow all the links down below, and I'll see you all next time.